It seems like there are major PlayStation 4 games being released every day at this point, and in today's video, I want to highlight 7 really cool new PS4 games that were released today. Yes, there were some major new PS4 games released today, so without further ado, let's just get right into it, and I want to kick things off with Frostpunk Console Edition. This is a game that I was very much looking forward to. I really enjoyed Frostpunk on PC, and now it comes to consoles in the form of Console Edition to the PlayStation 4, and this is done by 11-bit Studios, the same guys that brought you This War of Mine, and This War of Mine was absolutely fantastic. And Frostpunk is an even deeper experience. It's a city builder survival title, and it's incredibly dark in presentation and atmosphere. It's the first society survival game as it's described. As the ruler of the last city on Earth, it's your duty to manage both its citizens and its infrastructure. What decisions will you make to ensure your society's survival? And the decisions you make are imperative to the course of the world. And what will you do when pushed to the breaking point? Who will you become in the process? How you rule the world is very interesting, and you'll have to make some very tough decisions. And it's incredibly interesting from that standpoint. Frostpunk is the newest title from the creators of This War of Mine. It's a society survival game where heat meets life, and every decision comes at a price in an entirely frozen world. People develop steam power technology to oppose the overwhelming cold. You face the task of building the last city on Earth and securing the means necessary for your community to survive. Frostpunk was actually a game that initially on PC wasn't received the best because it did have a little bit of a lack of content. However, since its initial release, they have added so much content to the game, and it is absolutely ridiculous, all of the content that you get with the game. There was some paid additional content released with the Frostpunk Season Pass. However, it offers a ton to do from the get-go, and hopefully it just makes a smooth transition to the DualShock 4 controller. I have a lot of faith in 11-bit Studios on getting that done, and it is out today. Alright, next up, here's a really interesting game that I think a lot of you guys will have interest in right away when you see the game, and that is Eterno Blade 2. Yes, this is the follow-up to Eterno Blade, which a lot of you guys may have not checked out. However, the first Eterno Blade was more of a budget title. Eterno Blade 2 really lifts it up from a technical prowess, and it's a relatively impressive game from a visual standpoint as well. It's set after the events of Eterno Blade. The main character was living a peaceful life, and one day the dimension began to destabilize and it disappeared. Obviously, this is a typical story where everything is okay after the end of the last game, but then things go awry and you're plucked back into a world of turmoil. In Eterno Blade 2, there are 3 different playable characters with different abilities and storylines. You can choose between them, and characters have different battle styles depending on their weapons. Combat looks rather good, and if you want a quality action platformer, I really think Eterno Blade 2 is going to offer that, and it's out today. Next up, here's a rather interesting title that's been getting no publicity whatsoever, and that is A Knight's Quest. It's a gorgeous action adventure on an epic scale. Play as Rusty, a clumsy adventurer who accidentally sets about the end of the world, solve mind-bending puzzles, fight challenging enemies, defeat huge bosses, and platform your way through a fantastic open world in this lavish action title. Rusty begins his adventure with just a trusty sword and basic shield, but he'll soon unlock spirit power, spectacular abilities which have the ability to transform not only himself but also the world around him, harness the powers of fire, ice, and time to devastating effect, using them to conquer enemies in battle or solve environmental puzzles. The game is a massive action adventure set in a breathtaking open world, and you'll meet a huge cast of hilarious characters. It's got a very charming art style, reminiscent of something a little bit like The Legend of Zelda. I don't think the game is going to be quite at that quality level since that's pretty hard to reach. However, looks like a charming game in its own right, and it is out today. Next up, here's a game that I had been talking about quite a bit, and that is Mistover. Mistover is a very aesthetically pleasing RPG adventure title, and it's touted as a mystical RPG with expeditions for finding the key to survival. Choose your next step wisely, and keep in mind that your every move will change the future. Create your own core and explore through various regions in the Pillar of Despair, whether it be forests, lakes, mountains, cities, cathedrals, castles. They're all represented, and there's even more than that. Outside of that, you will be constantly dealing with internal conflicts between satisfaction and greed. Limited visibility will hinder your exploration. Utilize skills and create effective formations to achieve victory. And don't forget that even your best crew members have only one life. Upgrading gear is not the only way to win. The game touts 40 hours of expeditions in 5 distinct regions. Turn-based RPG with a twist. It can change based on your actions. The maps are always ever evolving. Practice different strategies in order to survive, and there's a lot of depth to the gameplay as well. It's out today, and right now, based on the Steam reception, it is a little bit mixed. However, it does look like a compelling game in its own right, and it looks like a lot of the mixed Steam reviews are because the game doesn't have keyboard and mouse support on PC, so that's a little bit of a bummer for the PC version, but obviously not an issue for the console version. Next up, we have a game that I am very much interested in, and that is Spirit Hunter NG. If you are a fan of story-driven horror titles, have your eyes on this game because this one really invokes that element of horror. It's being published by Arc System Games, so that's kind of interesting. And it notes, beware the creeping horror, face nightmares you thought were merely urban legends, uncover a dark mystery, making deadly decisions just to survive, play a chilling companion story to the award-winning Spirit Hunter Deathmark game, and bring the terror home. Use your wits and trusty flashlight to search for clues to your sister's disappearance, team up with shady characters to uncover a dark mystery, making deadly decisions just to survive. The choices you make determine your fate and affect the lives of everyone around you. The game was released at $49.99, so that is quite a hefty price point. I don't know if it's one that you want to pick up right away. However, if you're into horror games, this one really invokes that element of horror, and it looks to be an incredibly scary game. I don't know if it's completely up my alley from that sense. However, from a storytelling standpoint, I imagine that this game is going to be incredibly strong, and I will check it out at some point. Just initially, the price might be a little high for you guys, but definitely one to keep on your wish list. We have two more games to round things out, and they are two smaller titles. I first want to highlight Contraptions. Contraptions is noted to be a physics-based puzzle game with a fun, cartoony look. How many steps does it take to change a light bulb? If your answer is 10 or more, then you are ready for Contraptions, a game where the goal is to fix wacky contraptions that perform simple tasks in indirect and convoluted ways. It's a pretty quirky and interesting physics-based puzzle game, released at $9.99, so it's a very budget release, and it's got a fun, cartoony look, and it's a spiritual successor to the very warmly received Mechanic Master for the Nintendo DS, and that was published by Midway, so that's kind of interesting. And the game notes, solve over 100 wacky puzzles across 5 different worlds, create an unlimited number of your own levels, and challenge a friend to try to beat it. Use a plethora of goofy gadgets from scissors to washing line pegs, complete the levels in multiple ways, and get as bonkers and creative as you like. So a lot of creativity attached to this game. Again, a pretty charming game, not one that everybody is gonna pick up day one, however, one that I did want to mention. And lastly, I did want to give a shout to Stellatum. This one has you equip your battleship's guns, install faster engines, and increase the power of your reactor. Throw a barrage of rockets on hordes of enemy ships, burning everything in your path. There's a variety of different elements represented in the game, and every element was made with individual approach, polished to the smallest detail. Excellent graphics, drawing, visual effects, music, and sound effects, all perfectly harmonized in a special style and atmosphere unique to the game. The main campaign itself includes 80 missions divided into different locations in which you will meet several different opponents, races, and strong bosses. Super weapons are presented in the form of systems, and they are divided into combat and support systems that are powered by the reactor you have installed. Combat systems will incinerate your opponents, and support systems will support you and your partner in a multiplayer game. Pretty interesting title. Wasn't received that well on Steam back in 2017. However, it didn't get a strong reception either in terms of the quantity of people that played it. It was released at $14.99, another title that probably won't be a day one pickup for many. However, I did want to give it some recognition as it's really going under the radar at this point. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, I wouldn't say that this is a major day for new game releases. However, Frostpunk, I would say, is a pretty major release, and even if you don't pick it up day one that you should definitely have on your wish list. I imagine a lot of you guys played this War of Mine, and that game was fantastic. And Frostpunk really invokes that element of being an incredibly dark game with very interesting decision making. Eternal Blade 2 looks really good. A Knight's Quest looks very good. Mistover is a game that I've been high on for quite a while, and that looks to be shaping up fantastic. Spirit Hunter NG, not for the faint of heart, but if you're looking for a high quality horror title, I think you're gonna find it there. And even with games like Contraptions and Stellatum, pretty interesting games to round out the lineup. So that's gonna conclude this video. Do sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let us know if you're planning on picking up any of these games or adding them to your wish list. And that's gonna end this one. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Here, you meet the objective of building the last city on Earth and securing all the means for your people.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.